We're back mixing it up. Some of the day's other top stories include those tensions between the United States and Israel. Are we at a boiling point? And a new superheated set of rhetoric coming out of the deep right wing. We begin, though, with today's closed-door meeting between the president and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Just over an hour from now, the two leaders are going to discuss Israel's decision to build housing units in East Jerusalem, an area Palestinians want as the capital of their proposed state. These developments seen as a direct provocation in this debate. The Obama administration opposes this development. Netanyahu, however, will not budge.
The Jewish people were building Jerusalem 3,000 years ago, and the Jewish people are building Jerusalem today. Jerusalem is not a settlement. It's our capital.
New construction in East Jerusalem or the West Bank undermines that mutual trust. It exposes daylight between Israel and the United States that others in the region hope to exploit.
Well, this international dispute has now become a domestic political issue here in the U.S. Take a listen.
I never thought I'd live to see the day that an American administration would denounce the Jewish state of Israel for rebuilding Jerusalem. The time has come for this administration to stop bullying Israel.
Now, here to mix it up on our panel, White House correspondent for The Washington Post, Scott Wilson, and associate editor for The Washington Examiner, J.P. Freire. J.P., where are we headed with this particular chapter, if you will, of the Israeli-U.S. saga?
Well, the president is making clear his position that he wants to take the side of Palestinians in this debate, and he does not recognize the legitimacy of Israel doing what it wants with its own sovereignty, which strikes me as a little bit odd, considering how the president is loath to get engaged and interfere in foreign affairs or in other countries' internal affairs, and yet he wants to publicly criticize Israel for what it's doing. He's sending Secretary Clinton out to be the attack dog, and it's not working out well, I don't think.
Yeah. Scott, if you look at the implication of U.S. support to Israel and then the obvious animosity toward Israel in the balance of the Middle East and America, that the high wire act that is that three-way relationship has been in place since the relationship has existed. Do you get any sense that we're any closer to resolving these sorts of back and forths than we ever have been?
No, I don't. I would just say to the comment that you led into with the man said that he never thought he'd live to see the day. Well, there was an equally heated dispute back in 1992 between Israel and the first Bush administration over building in the West Bank. And I would also say that this is a part of Jerusalem, namely East Jerusalem, that the international community does not recognize as Israeli sovereignty. And what's important about Jerusalem in particular is that Jewish construction in Arab East Jerusalem is changing the demographics there. Mm-hmm. And the Clinton administration proposed dividing Jerusalem based on demographics. That is, predominantly Arab neighborhoods would become part of a future Palestinian state. So and Jewish neighborhoods would stay with Israel. So that's why this is important, and that's why the Palestinians are frustrated about it. Yeah. And the Obama administration is trying to make its point clear, but I think ultimately this will end with Prime Minister Netanyahu getting the last word. Yeah,
I mean, at the end of the day, you get the sense that Israel knows that the U.S. is going to be with them largely whatever they do, even if they are begrudging at times when they do it. Some disturbing remarks here from a Republican governor's candidate and the trend toward extremism coming from some members of his own party. Take a listen to this.
This day, the day that bill was passed, will be remembered just as 9/11 was remembered in history. It was an attempt by these people in Washington to defy the Constitution.
JP, this bill is a hard one to understand even for those who spend a lot of time looking at it. Does it help the situation when either the left or the right offers sort of inflammatory metaphors, or the media for that matter, when we're trying to really solve a very complicated problem that has great root issues and goes to the direct relationship between corporations and our government.
Well, I hear what you're saying, and I think it is, of course, a bad thing whenever you have a politician, trying to use inflammatory rhetoric. But I mean, it clearly works considering the fact that you and I are discussing it right now. I mean, this guy is getting press for it. Some people may wind up agreeing with him and want to send him some donations on account of this very segment. Yeah. I mean, we would ignore it if we didn't think it mattered. On the other hand, let's also say that the radical element of this whole political schema was introduced when the Democrats decided that they were going to ram through legislation in a singularly partisan way, and that as soon as that happened, certain inevitabilities would occur, which is that you'd have people saying all these crazy things that were completely inappropriate, but that's the kind of debate that they invited.
Yeah, and that's also one we've been dealing with in this country, as you and I both know, for about a decade on a wide variety of issues. And again, I'm pleading for an opposition party that just doesn't try to tear the opponent down. Just call out all the game rigging that the opponent is putting in their bill. There is so much there, and offer a bill with less game rigging. I'm sure you'll get support. Anyway, Palladino's statement mirrors some equally troubling attitudes outlined in a new Harris poll released this week. The poll reveals that 24% of Republicans think President Obama may be the Antichrist. Maybe. They're not sure. 45% believe he was not born in the U.S., and 38% say his policies are similar to Hitler's.
I am looking forward to looking at the crosstabs of this, looking at the specific data, because I'm sure it's fairly skewed. But at the beginning point, the moment that you ask the question, is Obama like Hitler, you're prompting the respondent to answer a question, yes or no. Sure. I mean, they're not, frankly, like if these are people that are like, okay, well, Hitler in Weimar Republic, are we talking Hitler, genocide Hitler? Are we talking about the full scale? I mean, it's wrong to say this. It's wrong to say that Obama is like Hitler without question. But when you have a polling company asking this question, it's absurd. At
what point, Scott, do we get legitimate polling as opposed to manipulated robo-polling that's used to inflame either cable ratings or political rallies? Yeah,
the day that negative advertising and this kind of rhetoric doesn't work, most likely. And there is such a strange parallel universe quality to all of this. I was in the East Room today during the bill signing ceremony, and that's partisan the other way, where Obama was really received like a conquering hero. And so I've never seen polarization like this in our electorate before.
Again, I really, if we had an opposition party that was pushing for better solutions, I just feel we're in a race to the bottom. I'm not even blaming them. Listen, the Republicans could have done a lot better job. The Democrats could have done a lot better job than the Republicans. But the point is, we have two parties racing to kill each other at our country's expense, and it's not fun to watch. Thank you, guys.